there was an editorial in the Wall Street Journal that underscored for me the importance of having these events at the Bunch Center. And the author quotes a letter from a West African king in the late 19th century. I wanted to read some of that to reemphasize the importance of having these types of events at the Ralph Bunche Center. It is important for us to get people together who take Africa seriously, who believe fervently that Africans can come up with solutions for their problems and would like to assist Africans in helping Africa manage itself. So with that, I want to welcome you to this program and welcome to the Ralph Bunche Center.
I want to begin by thanking Dr. Scott and the Ralph Bunche Center for partnering with us regarding the latest developments taking place in Liberia. I also want to thank our partner, Humanity United, Mr. Roy Aiken, who's here from San Francisco. But Humanity United works very hard in promoting human rights and fighting against slavery and genocide. We all know about the struggle, the conflict, and the suffering of the Liberian people that was ongoing for many years. And we all cheered alongside of them, particularly at that joint session of Congress when President Johnson Sirleaf took over.
And Liberia has enjoyed a number of important success stories. Perhaps the most notable of these is the accomplishment of achieving a $5 billion reduction in its international debt and putting its own fiscal house in order. Of great sentimental and symbolic importance to Americans and Liberians alike, the Peace Corps has resumed operations after an absence of 20 years there. Not only do these volunteers provide valuable service and lifelong ties to Liberia, but their placement demonstrates our faith, U.S. government's faith, in the stability and the security of the host country. Regardless of who wins the legislative and presidential elections this fall, President Johnson Sirleaf's greatest legacy, arguably, is to usher in a sense that democracy is the regular way of doing business in Liberia. Thank you very much.
Democratic elections were held in Liberia, and President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was inaugurated as Africa's first female president on July 16, 2006. Although I bring a long list of accomplishments in Liberia and much optimism about Liberia's long progress, the Liberian recovery is not without its fragility. And if we are to obtain the recovery and lock in the reforms, we'll need sustained efforts, more good leadership, continued partnerships, especially that of the United States, and of course, God's blessings. We have learned much from our past, and I hope that in today's session, we can share the Liberian experience and draw lessons from it that may be of help to others. We are filled with hope because we know that Liberia's best days are ahead of her. Thank you for your time.
I like to frame it as sort of a triple threat that Liberia is facing, and it's not just Liberia. First, we have to recognize the economic crisis. The second threat, I think, that we have to acknowledge really is the food crisis. And I think we have to recognize the heightened need as food prices are increasing around the world, as speculation is increasing, particularly in the agricultural sector. The impact that will have on Liberia, particularly in this election year, cannot be understated. And I think we have to acknowledge that. I think the third crisis, which again is not just Liberia, is the climate crisis. I think it is important to keep an eye to Liberia in these critical months before the election. I think it is important to be honest when it comes to all of the problems, particularly in terms of issues of corruption and issues of where there are challenges within the government, to push the government to be a more honest broker of the needs of the people, in spite of our appreciation of a first woman president.
These are groundbreaking deals in Liberia and promise to generate jobs and state revenue in the medium and long term, but they're not without drawbacks. She's gotten much better terms for the country on those deals. Some of them are multi-billion-dollar deals. This is going to be a challenge in terms of governance of these contracts and regulation of the companies, etc. Infrastructure construction is another area of slow but emergent success, and of course it's another area of enormous unmet need that requires very large investments to satisfy. As the ambassador mentioned, there have been many road building projects, and there are several underway now, several major ones and many, many smaller ones. And the government is pursuing multiple large-scale and micro-scale power generation and transmission projects, among other infrastructure work.
Liberia has taken great steps toward consolidating democratic rule since 2003, and there is a growing sense of accountability at all levels of government, though corruption remains an overwhelming challenge. The 2011 elections, if held freely, openly, and fairly, will mark another significant step forward. Political parties are weak and only active during election periods. They are generally not able to exercise oversight over their members, and they do not play a role in shaping public policy. Decentralization, key to socioeconomic development and government accountability at the local level, has yet to take shape. To date, Liberia has never held local elections.
So when the marked improvements in security, economic opportunities and stability are taken into account, President Sirleaf's tenure has to be graded as fairly successful. This should not at all be regarded as meaning that conditions have become entirely normal or all the hopes of stability and socioeconomic progress have been realized. Given the unimaginable devastation of the economy and dissolution of the structures of politics and society, the relatively modest achievements should be viewed as signposts of the resilience of the Liberian people and the capacity of the institution's survival. Records appraising the 5-year period clearly indicate a large number of steps taken to chart a future of peace and stability. Broad indicators of positive developments include the modest rebuilding of infrastructures, schools, and health systems, the embrace of the rule of law, and that promotes investment and trade, as well as the attempts of institutionalization of cultures of accountability.